episode of the Javelina Coaches Show. Appreciate you tuning in on the Mendoza's Pharmacy Javelina Sports Network. I'm your host, Mark and Sarah, and we're joined by our first guest on this episode. That's our head Javelina baseball coach, Jason Gonzales. Coach, thanks for carving out some time for us.
Well, it's always good to be able to come back and visit with you a little again. Must mean that baseball season isn't just too far away.
That's exactly what it means. It'll be February 4th, this opening day. You guys will be here at home against Cameron. How long have you and your players had that date circled on the calendar?
Probably since the last day that when we walked off the field against Lubbock Christian to end our season last year. Was right back to work as soon as we possibly could. So we've had some good workouts up to this point, and yes, they are excited, looking forward to February the 4th.
And I know that everyone hated the way last season ended, you and your players more than anybody. How much do you feel like that has motivated this team over the course of the last few months?
I think it's been very significant in how they've gone about their business. I mean, that hurts us as much as anything that you do in the game of baseball, and to have what we thought was, you had a series in hand and you just have to finish it, and we didn't do that. And so there was a lot of pain that came from that, but we talked and visited quite a bit and realized that we better get something from this pain. And so I have seen a renewed focus on how they went about their business all fall and even, up to this point. So I really like the work ethic and how they've gone about their business.
You guys had a highly decorated and accomplished senior class. You graduated after last season. A lot of guys like Cole Ullman and Seth Spinn and Austin DeLeon who graduated and moved on. But I know that you have a lot of players. That just means that there's an opportunity for players to take on an added role, to take on an increased role for this team. How much confidence do you have in the players you have on the roster this year?
A lot of confidence. I like the team that we've put together. Coach Flores and Coach Sandos have done a very good job on the recruiting trail. And you're right, we're having to replace a lot of not just leadership, but some batting average, some RBIs, and so there are some guys with the capability of filling those roles, and it might take us 3 or 4 weekends to kind of put our lineup together exactly like we want to, but there is a lot of versatility in our lineup, some athleticism. Some guys can play center field, they can play second base, and so it's going to be fun to kind of put this thing together. And again, the difficult thing is there's no non-conference to try to figure some stuff out. It's the real bullets start flying opening day.
Yeah, you don't get those first few series at the beginning of the season to put some guys in different positions, see how much you can learn about them, because those games at the beginning of the season all go right on that conference record. What has impressed you most about the new faces that you have on campus this year?
Well, the new guys that have come in here, they've really kind of fit into our pack mentality, and they've really encompassed what we do and what we believe in. And there's some physical talent there too. Some of the new guys, Nick Wolf, Jake Chapman, and then we got a couple of guys that break with Kobe Jaramillo and Kyler Bumstead. So we think those guys are going to come in and kind of fill a role. But again, I think the strength of the team is still going to be some of those returners. We've got Giancarlo Servine, who's been here for a while now, and he's a leader, especially on offense, and he's been a captain. Stephen Bonus, he's I think primed for a big season as well. And I think you'll see Ivan Duarte, who's coming back from an injury last year. We didn't get to see him play, and so he's coming back hungry. So there's a lot of guys and a lot of good pieces to the puzzle that we just can't wait to put them together.
I think one of the strengths of this team, looking at it on paper, is going to be the pitching staff that you guys have. How is this about the deepest pitching staff you've had going into a season?
It's comparable to our 2018 team, and for us, I think we're going to put 4 starters out there that will definitely give us an opportunity to win. We can't ask our starters to win the game because they need a lot of help, and that's not something we do, but we do ask them, hey, can you please help us give your hitters an opportunity, give them a chance. And we're going to run 4 guys out there that will do that time in and time out. What we've got to do is kind of figure out who's going to, who's going to throw the 7th, 8th, and 9th innings with a 1-run lead. And there's some really good candidates out there to fill that role, but for us, it always has to start on the mound. And with Kobe Lunsford, Logan Garza, those 2 guys got a lot of innings under their belt. Brandon Semenk, and then you follow that up again with Kobe Jaramillo, who's pitched at a high level as well. So we couldn't be more excited about the rotation that we're going to be able to put out there.
How much of a benefit is it to have a pitching staff that's throwing to a guy who's a veteran like Stephen Bonas? I know he's not your only catcher, but I'm sure he's going to see a lot of time behind the plate. How much does that add to the talent on the pitching staff?
It's really tough to quantify how much that he adds, or a good catcher, not just him, but any good catcher adds. No pitcher wants to throw to somebody who's clanking the balls and they're running back to the backstop, and it's really just, it kind of demoralizes you as a pitcher. But Stephen Bonas is again, he's been with us now going on 4 years, so he understands the system. He handles the pitching staff very well, and again, you throw in a Nick Wolf who's just transferred in, and he's learned our system very well. So those two guys are going to obviously do the bulk of our catching, and what I like about them is they're going to be able to kind of settle down our pitching staff.
How much, you look at the coaching staff you have, and I know you have at least one new face, but Coach Sandoz and Coach Flores are guys you've worked with for a while. You remember Coach Flores all the way back when he was one of the guys on the mound for you. How much does it add to your, how much easier does it make your life to have guys like that on your staff?
Well, it's tremendous. I mean, those guys do a lot of thankless jobs, man, and nobody sees it, and they don't get any credit. And they definitely don't do it for the money. And to have those two guys, both of them played for me, and to have, I guess, to have those guys think enough of our program to come back and want to be a part of it, it's very special. And then we added, Coach Kelly, J.M. Kelly, a very good coach with some experience at the Division I level. So this coaching staff has really kind of held us together, and I mean, head coach kind of gets a lot of the credit, but man, those guys are really the backbone of what we do.
Who do you think is a better fastball these days, Flores or Sandoz?
Ooh, you know what? I'm not getting into that one.
Okay.
You know what? I'll tell you this. Coach Flo might have a little bit more velocity, but Coach Sandoz might have a little bit more movement. We'll leave it at that.
Okay. Well, now if we got to put Wolf and Bonas back behind the plate in the bullpen. See what these guys can come up with.
We can do that.
Coach, best of luck this season. Again, February 4th is opening day at Nolan Ryan Field, and I know you and your players are looking forward to it. We look forward to it as well. Thank you for your time, Coach.
Thank you for having me. God bless.
We'll take our first break here on the Javelina Coaches Show. We will be right back. Of the Javelina Coaches Show. We're joined by our next guest, and that is the head Javelina women's basketball coach, Michael Madrid. Coach, thank you for carving out some time for us this week.
Thanks for having us, Mark. Appreciate you.
Another 2-0 weekends in the book for you guys. You guys stay undefeated at home. Wins over Oklahoma Christian and Arkansas Fort Smith. What were your main takeaways from this past weekend's games?
I thought collectively we just continue to get better as a team. We continue to get better individually. To pull out a victory on Thursday at home in overtime against Fort Smith, I thought was really showed our growth. We didn't play extremely well. Fort Smith was, a reason for some of that, but to come out with the victory shows our growth a little bit. So, I thought that was great to see that on film. And then, obviously, Saturday we shot lights out against Oklahoma Christian. A lot of players were able to get involved, and we continue to defend. And as long as they defend, I think we always have a chance.
You guys had, I think, 25 assists. You mentioned on 27 made baskets in the win over Oklahoma Christian. You talked about how that was indicative of the lack of the unselfishness you have on this team. Is that unselfishness, how much of that, in your opinion, is innate to these, is just natural to these players? How much of it is learned, something based on stuff you guys preach every day?
I think part of it is we're just constantly talking about team, and every shot is a team shot. I think one of the most impressive things about our group is if you look at our overall stats, we don't have one player averaging over double figures for this season. Now, in conference play, we have, I think, a couple, but I just think that just shows that we're a total team from top to bottom. You never know night in and night out who's gonna shoot well. It could be all of us. It could be 2 or 3 of us. And so I think that makes us maybe a little more difficult to scout in a sense, because you don't really have to focus on 1 or 2 players. But again, we're just continuing to get better. We had a really good practice last night, did a lot of individual skill development, and just hoping, if we can continue to make our players individually, it makes our team better overall.
And when you also go back to one of the things you mentioned on Saturday, we talked about how Chrislyn Jones had 4 points, but she had, I think, 9 assists, how your players have become aware of the fact that they don't need to score 20 points to impact the game. And I think that was another thing that you guys showed on Saturday. When you look at where this team is right now, we're a little bit past the halfway point in the season. If you kind of step back and look at the season as a whole, what are the things that have pleased you the most?
I'm just proud of them, number one. They continue to believe in our culture and what we're doing. They continue to work every day. Monday's a day off for us, but there'll be a number of them in the gym getting up shots today. They just continue to want to get better, and they want to be fun to watch. And so just proud of where we're at. The growth that we have, and just continuing to look forward to our next practice and then our next game eventually.
You always talk about how you make sure the players know that any night could be their night. They have to be ready to step up and play well. And I thought Kaya Herrera came in and gave you guys a spark, particularly on Thursday. What were the things that you liked about the way she's played and prepared?
To your point, we talk to them all the time about taking advantage of opportunities. You never know when your time's going to come. I thought Kaya came in and gave us a really solid spark on Thursday. And then, of course, towards the end of the game against Oklahoma Christian came in, and yesterday when we watched film, I called her the little microwave. She doesn't need time to warm up. She just came in and started knocking down threes, and so speaks volumes about our team. We have a lot of players that can shoot it, and again, you just never know when it's your time.
Obviously, these are 2 really good teams. You have to go on the road and play this week, A&M Commerce and Tyler. How do you prepare your team for the challenges of this weekend and get into the mindset of respecting how good these teams are, but then at the same time bring it back to, we're not going to try and do anything different than we did last weekend?
Obviously both teams are extremely talented. Commerce is ranked really high. Tyler went to Commerce and beat Commerce, and so we know that we're playing 2 really talented teams, but at the end of the day, our focus will continue to be what it's been all season long. We focus on ourselves, we focus on getting better, on executing offensively and defensively. When it's all said and done, we'll look up at the scoreboard and see where we're at.
Obviously, like we said, obviously these will be 2 tough games, but how much do you feel like your team enjoys the challenge of having both of these games against tough opponents on the road?
I think more importantly, we're just excited about the opportunity. Excited about the opportunity to play, excited about the opportunity to play together again. We have a really special group of young ladies in our locker room, and every opportunity that we get to coach them in practice or in a game, we're excited about it.
Well, Coach, thanks for the time. Go have some fun this week.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you.
We'll take one more break. Our next guest will be the head Javelina men's basketball coach, Johnny Estelle, so don't go away. The Javelina Coaches Show will return in a moment. Welcome back to another episode of the Javelina Coaches Show, and we are joined by our next guest. That is the head coach of Javelina men's basketball, Johnny Estelle. Coach Estelle, thank you for stopping by once again.
Thank you for having me.
I know it was a challenging week for you guys. It was a week you guys had to play 3 times. You were at International, then you came home for Arkansas Fort Smith, then you had Oklahoma Christian on Saturday. How do you feel like your team overall responded to that challenge last week?
Well, the best we could have done was 3-0. We ended up 2-1. 3 very good quality opponents. Those teams I think are going to be in the hunt for being in the conference tournament and doing some damage for the rest of the year. But at the end of the day, coming off of playing 3 games in I think 5 or 6 days, I could be no more proud, what our guys were able to do. We didn't finish Thursday's game like, we anticipated. We came back and looked at the film and took accountability from every angle, from the coaches to the players, made adjustments, and then was able to regroup and get a win on Saturday. So it made the week more enjoyable. Would have loved to have been 3-0 though.
You talk a lot about trying to prepare this team, put them in the best position to succeed in the postseason. And if you look at the postseason, you guys, if you want to win in the postseason, you got to play 3 games in 3 days, especially in the conference tournament. Do you feel like there's a benefit from having your team been through a week like this, especially when you look forward to the postseason?
Well, you must have been listening to us speaking in our locker room, because everything about the season you try to, tied to the end, championship. And that's one thing I did say. I said we're going to have to play 3 games and win 3 games in 3 days in some cases. So we have to start mentally preparing for that. Tournament play at the end is it's a little different, say, than what we're doing now because you have so much time to prepare. So there's going to be quick turnaround. There's going to be, opportunities where you're going to play the same opponent maybe 2 or 3 times. So you have to focus on the non-negotiables, the culture of your program, your identity, and we're building on that now. We're trying to be consistent in those areas so that when that time comes in March, that we're playing our best.
You mentioned you guys shot the ball really well. When we talked of the OC game, you guys shot the ball really well. You said that your team hadn't. You felt like the team hadn't shot the ball well previously. Yes. How do you try and, when you have a team that's not shooting the ball well, how do you try and correct that or help your team get better in that area?
Well, first and foremost, you have to focus more on shooting, which is what we've done. We've finally got all our roster back together. Then that took time. The one thing you don't anticipate about COVID, I know coaches know this, is the kids that come out of isolation, it takes them a time to get recalibrated mentally as much as physically. And, so we had to do that. So that muscle memory, that routine, those things that you do every day, you take that for granted sometimes. You think a kid, once he's out of isolation, he's just going to walk in and be at his best. And it takes time. And then with that being said, when you have guys out of the rotation and lineup, especially about, the amount of guys we play, it hurts in terms of role development, So the routine part of it is what we got back to, of getting more shooting, getting more focus on identity, and the rotation went back to order. And I thought Saturday our starters played really well. I thought Trey Flowers and Derek did a really good job. And man, what the night Will had was an amazing. I don't know how many triple doubles that we've ever had here. He was real close to having one, which everybody knows in basketball is huge. So 9 assists for a guy that plays the 5, that's amazing.
You also had, I think, C.J. Smith averaged 17 points per game across the 3 games you played this past week. What are the things that he has brought to this program? What are the things that he does well that have helped you guys this season? What has made him such a valuable part of this team?
CJ is a unique talent where he has a combination of ability to score at 3 levels, which means the 3-point line, mid-range level, and at the basket. He's got speed and quickness, and he's a deceptive athlete for his size. He has a good feel for how to play, with different lineups. So he's just a guy that's a hard matchup, to cover because of his abilities. And then he's done a good job meshing with the talent that we had coming back. And now the consistency piece of, keep getting better, understanding that, his game has to constantly improve because, he's been in junior college, which I've coached, that the scouting is different at this level, the travel and things like that. So he's going through that phase of it, along with his talent adjusting to our team, and he's done a good job of that. So, CJ is a unique player. I think he's one of those guys that makes others better. I think the guys really love playing with him, and it's exciting to have guys like him playing for you.
I get impressed watching a guy who's 5'9" flying in to get rebounds around the basket because not many guys you see do that, but he's willing to stick his nose in there and fight for boards just like anybody else. When you look at where this team is, they're a little bit past the halfway point of the season right now. When you look at the season as a whole so far, how do you assess where you guys are?
Well, we're 10-4. I texted the team yesterday. I told them, I said, I'm very blessed. Number one, we have you guys, the relationships, the memories, and then we're 10-4. Quite naturally, you can go back and pick here and there where you could easily be 14-0, you could be 13-1 or whatever. But we're fortunate to be 10-4. We've learned from every loss. I think everything that have created those losses or led to those losses are fixable. And I think, I know the guys that are in that locker room are really working towards being the best team that they can be every day. So with that being said, we know that there's challenges in front of us. This is a very good league, very well coached league, very, a lot of talent. But I always look at where we are. And right now I can assess, I like where we are. I think we can get better. I think that the best basketball is still in front of us, and I think we're going to get there. I just think because of the hearts that are in there, the character that's in that locker room, and just their everyday work ethic.
The challenge ahead of you this week is road games against Commerce and Tyler. What are the things your team needs to be prepared for against these 2 opponents?
Well, these are 2 really good teams, man. I tell you what, they're very athletic. They're well coached in the sense that, they play kind of a similar but different styles. They're hard places to play, you know, for different reasons. But, you know, man, it's, you know, when you go on the road in this league, or if you can see in college basketball, I mean, to get a win, I mean, it's very difficult. So, you know, sometimes you get as a coach a little overwhelmed. Sometimes when you win, like, you know, you're not doing things at a particular level. You better be grateful that you got, you know, you got the win, because at the end of the year, you'll look back and wish you did. So, you know, we're going into this game understanding that we've got to play better than we did last week, which I think we will. We know we have to take the show on the road, so to speak. So, you know, we won't have the friendly confines of the spec, but sometimes you play better on the road. You know, you get away, you kind of what we call get in the bunker, and we're going to utilize this time on the road as, you know, we're preparing for the conference tournament. So that means the regiment, the routines, focus, and attention to detail, we want to constantly build towards the end of the year.
Well, Coach, best of luck this week. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thank you so much.
Javelinas will be on the road this week, but don't forget the next time they'll be at home will be February 3rd, and they'll be at home on February 5th. St. Ed's and St. Mary's will be here on those days. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Javelina Coaches Show. We will see you again next week on the Mendoza's Pharmacy Javelina Sports Network.